you for joining us. Today is February 1st, 2024, and we have a great webinar, AI Chat GPT 101. So happy that you were able to join us today. And if you have any questions throughout, I really encourage you to ask because this topic is so new, and just so excited that we have Trailblaze here today. So again, my name is Nick Fry. I'm the manager of business development, and we again encourage you to put your questions at the bottom in the Q&A. Any kind of links or resources we talk about throughout the webinar, we will share after the fact in an email, so you don't have to go, searching throughout. The webinar is closed captioned, so you can turn that on or off within your bar at the bottom. And if you find value in this webinar, or you want to check out our past ones, they're available at tourismns.ca/webinar-series, and they're also available through Digiport. I am hoping that you joined us today through Digiport. And if you haven't done so, you really should sign up. It's the only service of its kind in Canada. It's a one-stop shop of interactive services, training opportunities, programming, and access to professional support. So to help you improve your online presence. There's a program within Digiport where you can sign up for a one-on-one 1-hour session with a service expert for any one of the areas that you may need help with. So check that out. And if you have any questions about that, send us an email after the fact. So today we have John Cody and Colin Alexander coming to us from Trailblaze AI. They co-founded this company dedicated to integrating AI into Atlantic Canadian's business landscape. They have a focus on empowering small businesses, helping them to harness the full potential of AI for increased operational efficiency and transformative job growth. They're committed to educating enterprises to pave the future for smart businesses in the region. When we had chatted today about kind of what they really do when they're meeting with small businesses, and they help educate them to understand AI, absorb it, and utilize it in their business, because it can be a bit of a daunting thing, but they really make it digestible. So without further ado, I welcome Trailblaze AI to take over the screen. And again, please ask any questions throughout, and we're so happy to have John and Colin here today. Thank you so much.
And thank you, Nick. I am just flipping screens over now. Can I make sure that you are all seeing our slide deck now?
Give us a one.
We can see it.
Awesome.
Good?
Perfect. Well, thank you, folks, so much for joining us this morning for our Getting Started with ChatGPT 3.5 Chat 101. We cannot wait to help you guys all get started with this wonderful new technology that is making things so much easier in the small business landscape. So won't spend too much time introducing ourselves. I am Colin Alexander. Beside me here, Mr. John Cody. John, why don't you jump in and say a few words about your lovely self?
Perfect. So as Colin said, my name is John Cody. I'm the president of Social Spike Marketing Group, and we're actually just coming up on our 4th birthday here in March. Started the business in 2020, 2 weeks before the pandemic hit us. So it was definitely an interesting time to start a business. But as a lot of entrepreneurs know, resilience is such an important factor when you're becoming an entrepreneur. So I feel like everyone in here probably dealt with a lot of the same situations. I know, Colin, we started our businesses at the exact same time, so we have the same kind of experience. But I've been involved in the digital marketing space for a decade now, and in that time, I've specialized in search engine optimization, so helping small businesses increase their visibility online, get more customers essentially from places like Google. Over that time, I've consulted with over 2,500 small businesses around the world, and we've worked on over 150 digital marketing campaigns, generating over 8 figures for these businesses. So that's kind of my background. Colin, how about you?
Yes, and I started, as John had alluded to, 4 years ago, just before the pandemic. My company, Conduit Voice Media, focuses on producing digital audio and video communications for small businesses in the Atlantic Canada region. And I am going to be honest in saying that with the advent of generative AI and things like ChatGPT, the way that I operate has changed significantly, for the better. So without further ado, let's get into what we're going to be talking about today. So we want to sort of introduce you folks, set the stage for the AI revolution. We're going to give you some information on just how rapidly this technology has been changing and how rapidly it's been being adopted. We're going to talk about what chat and learning language models really are and how they work. We really want to drive home why this should matter to tourism businesses in Nova Scotia, and why this technology or these technologies are going to be so transformative for what we're up to here in the region. John's going to walk us through an awesome case study with some SEO results that his firm has generated using AI. And we're going to talk to you folks about how you can all get started. We're going to get you logged in. We're going to talk about responding to a tough customer situation via email, talk about some social media planning and some assisted post writing examples, and some tools and resources that we have coming down the pipeline just for you folks in the tourism industry. So let's get started. We're going to hop in the Wayback Machine here quickly, back to 1964. And so the advent of what you see here in front of you is the CDC 6600. This is the world's very, very first supercomputer. It was, at its prime, the fastest, most beastly machine on the market. It could do up to 3 million instructions, floating point instructions, or flops, as we call them, every second. And it set the benchmark for computer systems as we've moved into the personal computer era through the late 80s and early 90s. Part of the reason why I have this information up here is because this supercomputer, which took up the better part of a room, doing 3 million instructions every second, compared to the phone that you have in your pocket, which does about 8 trillion. So the technology has moved in an immense direction forward and smaller. John?
1997, one of my favorite decades. I'm a 90s baby, so I grew up here. Titanic was ruling the movie theaters. Barbie Girl by Aqua was on every radio station. And over a 9-day period, Deep Blue beats Gary Kasparov in an epic chess battle. And this is we wanted to highlight this because this is one of the first real periods where computing started working against humans in a way, and not in a negative way, but just showing the actual power that it has in terms of its computing abilities, that it can now beat a world chess champion who has never lost really to anyone else. So yeah.
Zipping ahead by 1 year, we come to 1998. Well, it's really the period of 98 to the early 2000s. And many of you folks will probably remember this. This is when the Windows-based operating systems became integrated in almost every business computing machine worldwide. This is really kind of important for us. This, more than I think anything else, has kind of set the stage for where we really are now, because we started communicating and using our computers in a way that looked more and more web-based, and used a lot of that web-based functionality and that web-based psychology in its application user. Now, this allowed teams to organize their workflows, to keep contact over time and distance in new way. We started using email in a way that nobody ever anticipated, and now for many of us, I'm sure you're aware, it dominates some of our days. It took the World Wide Web, it took the whole internet 7 years to reach 100 million users. It took ChatGPT less than 2 months to reach that same level of usership.
And that's what we really want to highlight, is how impressive the growth is for this tool. And we're going to show you in a second what that looks like in comparison to some others. But yeah, in November 2022, ChatGPT was launched, and it already surpassed 100 million users within 2 months. So we're going to have a look at what that looks like against the other tech giants in similar spaces and other spaces. So just to give you an idea, TikTok took 9 months to reach 100 million users. Facebook took 4.5 years, and Netflix took 10 years, a decade, to reach that number. And I'm sure most of you in here have either used all these softwares, continues to use these tools, or watch Netflix every night like I do. But I guess what we want to show is just how impressive this growth is against these other tools. And that's what chat it really is. It is a tool, right? And that's what we want to get into is really how do we harness this tool like we would harness these other tools as part of our business mix, right?
And the other piece to add to this, just before we move on, is the rapidity in which this tool has been adopted. 100 million. This was as of 2022, 2 years ago. I don't have recent numbers, but we can bet that it is much, much higher. Many, many, many businesses are moving towards these technologies in some way, shape, or form. But let's talk a little bit first about what they actually are and how they work.
So without getting into a lot of complexities, because we don't want to overburden you with this, because the realism is using chat is actually pretty straightforward and simple. But essentially, LLMs are kind of like a bag of Lego, okay? So essentially, we train these models and we kind of use them as blocks, right? They help us generate new text. They can create images now. They can actually establish code for websites. They can answer questions. They can do all sorts of things. And essentially, when we're training these models, they improve, they get better at all of these tasks and items that we might use on a daily basis, especially in business. And that's really kind of the simplicity of it, right? And LLMs, they're always under development, they're always growing, they're always expanding. What we have today, and we're using Chat 4, is different than Chat 3.5, right? So what's Chat 5, 6, 7 going to look like? What is that going to be able to accomplish? This is where it gets really revolutionary in terms of where it can go. And even at this very moment, how important, how big of an impact it has with our kind of daily lives as business owners.
So why does this matter? Why should this make any difference to you at all within the tourism sector? We're going to talk first about some numbers on the wide general scope to kind of to iterate to you folks, how quickly and how immensely these technologies are being utilized. And then John's going to take us down a little bit of the garden path to see some real applied results of using Chat 3.5 in some of these tasks. So first off, just to get started, this is a report from the Small Business and Entrepreneurship Council. And the survey reported that nearly half, 48% of small businesses started using AI tools within the past year. Now, AI tools as a whole, as a blanket, we're not just talking about ChatGPT within this number, although it is a large part of that ratio. The estimate was that almost 30% have been using them for at least 1 to 2 years. An overwhelming amount, 93% of small business owners agreed that it was a cost-effective solution that was driving savings and improving profitability. Well, I mean, that's great. But really, let's break that down, John, just a little bit more and get a sense of why that's meaningful.
Absolutely. So when we look at some of the other key factors that were highlighted from the data gathered from these small businesses, 41% used AI to redirect their own time and employee time for higher value work. So what does that mean? That means starting to get rid of some of those mundane tasks by utilizing AI to kind of automate some of these processes, right? And that means you can work more time on your business than in your business, which I think for most, that's a huge goal, right? At least for me and Colin, that's a huge proponent to what we're trying to achieve with AI. 39% invested in AI tools for more innovative solutions, customer engagement and retention. And then this could be chatbots, this could be other forms of automations with email and other things. But the objective is if we're trying, it's easier to retain clients, right, and customers than trying to get new customers. So that's kind of a huge objective too with small businesses, right? 25% use the cost savings to increase wages and benefits for their employees. So when we're talking about, maybe the fear side of it with AI removing jobs and all of that in the workforce, we look at it really of an upskilling ability. And by doing this, you can actually help your employees. Maybe you can hire more employees, right? Based on the time savings, the cost savings, and how you're able to allocate that. And 25% did kind of that, right? They put aside capital for emergency purposes, like a pandemic, maybe, or maybe you needing new equipment, maybe you need to add on to your building, any of these things. Again, whatever it is that you might need, AI is helping shave time and some costs so you could allocate that elsewhere. And that for you could mean different things, right?
The thing that I personally find very, very striking about this is that 41% redirected their own time and employee time to higher value work. So here we're not talking about job replacement. We're not even talking about job displacement. We're talking about job enhancement. These people have not lost their jobs. Now they're doing more, better, faster, easier. That's the big takeaway for me.
Exactly. And just from our own experiences, me and Colin, that's exactly what we've done. We've been able to grow our employee base by giving them tools that actually simplify a lot of the tasks that they would normally do by a substantial amount, right? So that allows us to grow. And instead of, like I said, we're not firing everyone because we still need people to use these tools, and you will still need to use this tool yourself. It doesn't do everything by its own, right? So we have to upskill, we have to learn these things. So how do we take advantage of it? How does our team take advantage of it, right?
That's it.
And what I want to get from everyone here, does this resonate? Does that all make sense? Does saving time in your day, being able to, increase the betterment of your own employees, does this make sense? Does this resonate? If these are things that you're looking for in your business, shoot us a 1 in the chat. I'd love to see if this is something you're like, yes, this would make my business so much better, so much easier, so much more efficient. This is what we want to see. This is why we're here today, right? Perfect. Seeing some ones. Perfect. Absolutely. Let's go.
Let's go. Indeed. So with that said, let's talk about 3.5. 3.5, Chat 3.5 is the free version of Chat that any and all are welcome to engage with. But how can it really help you? As I've been alluding to, John's going to walk us through an SEO SEM case study. And these are his results. We're going to go through a customer email response to kind of a sticky situation, which I'm sure will resonate with many of you folks out there in the crowd. We've all had one of these at one point. And we'd like to talk a little bit more about social media, because we know that this is a really, really large tool. And not just for folks within the tourism sector, but for small businesses as a whole. Their social media platforms tend to be the mouth of their business, or the mouth of their brand. So we do want to focus a little heavily on that today. And if you folks are looking to do a little bit more, you might need Chat 4. And we'll talk a little bit more about that towards the end of the presentation. But if you're looking to do things like feedback, customer feedback, and data analysis, if you're looking to build out chat bots or real automations, Chat 4 might be the tool for you. And we're going to talk a little bit more about that coming up. Without further ado, John, why don't you walk us down the garden path of generative AI and SEO?
Absolutely. So we wanted to give a little bit of actual real example from our own perspective, just to show you, this is, again, a fraction of what you can do with chat. Okay. But we wanted to show real life examples because these things might resonate with some of our tourism businesses. So what we did is we created basically an SEO campaign utilizing chat. So we wanted to determine the best content roadmap that would help basically create topics and information related to the business we are working with, in terms of getting things out there that their ideal audience might be wanting to read or look up upon, to start introducing their brand to them when they might be coming to the province of Nova Scotia and they're, maybe going to Cape Breton, checking out the scenery. We wanted to make sure that we were getting in front of them. Okay, so we use chat to help create that roadmap. We're able to optimize key pages with data that we gain from chat to help implement content on the pages that both were compelling for the audience, right, in terms of their potential customers, but also appease Google enough to get it shown in front of them in the first place, which is kind of the goal again with SEO, is the visibility side of it. So we were able to amalgamate both of those components to create a really great campaign that worked efficiently for this business.
And out of my own curiosity, John, what were some of the key content elements of that campaign?
So, I mean, realistically, the two core fundamental pieces were how do we optimize their main pages on their site that go into more description of the services that they're offering. Again, in this case, it was a geodome. So they're offering, time to stay at the geodome. So we wanted to make sure that that was classified, that we were highly optimized for Nova Scotia and Cape Breton in this case. And then the rest of it was creating blog content that is talking about things that these types of tourists that would stay here might be looking for. Maybe it's whale watching out in Cape Breton, right? Maybe it's some of the Highland related activities that are there. The Gaelic aspect of it. There's so many components that we kind of build together to create that roadmap. And fundamentally, that's part of the SEO strategy as well, is how can we cast this big net to those that might know or might be present in Nova Scotia. But if you're a tourism business, maybe you're getting people from outside the province that don't really know anything about the province. So what are some of the things they might be searching for or looking for when they are coming to Nova Scotia for a visit?
Right, and connecting those things being sort of the operative directive there.
Absolutely, 100%. So what does that mean? What does that result in? So essentially, we are able to increase their local search visibility from 0% to 46% just by simply doing these things on the website. Nothing else was done, right? So we were able to optimize all these components. So that means we become more visible. We start showing up in the maps for some of these main terms that people are looking for. And that ultimately leads into the results that we saw next.
There we go.
Click, click. So we saw a 700% increase in just organic traffic by implementing the strategy. Okay. So again, these are highly relevant individuals coming to the website because one, they're looking for either the specific thing that we're offering in terms of a staycation kind of in the geodomes, or they're looking at the topics that are essentially targeted to people coming to the province. They're interested in understanding what they can do when they come here. And that kind of, again, connects the brand ultimately to that information and they get introduced to what they're offering. And again, if it's something they look at and there's like, oh, that's a really unique, awesome kind of luxury camping experience, that might be right up their alley, they're likely to book in. And that's what we saw. We saw an increase in bookings because of that, because they made that tie-in. And that's kind of the key element to what we do as SEO, right? Increased visibility, relevant information being shown in front of these particular audiences that we're wanting to attract. They see it, they like it, they book, right? So that's essentially what we did with this campaign.
And that's awesome. And how would you say, from the time that it would generally take you and your team to generate this kind of a campaign versus the time that it took you with AI assistance to generate the campaign, what was the difference there?
Oh, I would say anywhere between 20 and 30 hours saved,
Wow.
100%. So I guess in this terms, like this was a tourism business, we were helping through the TDAP program, right? So realistically, because of the time we were able to save and condense that in that short period, we were able to achieve this. But this wouldn't have been realistic necessarily for them if they took a regular campaign, just price-wise. It wouldn't have made sense for them because of where we're at in terms of our, our services, right? So that's why we look at AI as being able to level the playing field for small businesses. So those that might not be able to say afford or connect with the services me and Colin offer are able to do similar things. And this is what we're going to be teaching and showing later on, not in this presentation, but down the road with other things that we're going to be doing, is how can we use chat for these specific types of elements, SEO, email, social media, there's a lot of factors. So that's a whole workshop in itself to try to get these types of results. But I just want to show the power. That's what's important.
No, and that's it. But really, we need a place to start first before we start talking about all of these complex tasks. let's focus on some of the everyday things that 3.5 is really good at. So what I am going to do here, I'm going to leave this up, but I am going to try and start a new share here for you folks. And I am going to show you very, very quickly what you need to do to get logged into chat if you have not logged into it before. Okay. Just a quick check with you, John. You can see my my browser window.
Yep.
Okay, great. So my friends, you're going to notice up here, I am on openai.com. This is the company that created the ChatGPT system. You see this nice little video of these two folks chatting, but that's not really why we're here. If you have never used chat before, you can click on this button right up here, try ChatGPT, and it's going to take you to this screen to either get started, to sign up, or to log in. If you already have a sign up, you can just log in and it will take you to the next screen. If you have not, you will need to enter an email address, a valid email address, and you will be asked for your telephone number to set up two-factor verification and authentication right from the get-go. As far as I'm aware, there is no way to shut off two-factor authentication through ChatGPT. It is always active. But once you've logged in, you should be able to. Chat's going to make a fool of me. Oh, no.
I'm glad you remember your passwords because I certainly don't.
I do.
I only have 1 trillion passwords.
And I'm now being two-factor authenticated.
Perfect.
Yes,
Exactly
that's
what they're
me.
going to see.
And this is exactly what you're going to see. And I'm going to continue as myself.
And I
Oh,
want to
that's
highlight
chat.
kind of how really easy this is, because I think a lot of people when they're starting out, they think this is a very complicated thing, but just like that, we're in there. And this is what it looks like,
Yep.
right? Like this is where we're able to actually just type a message. And all you're doing is simply texting information right now. You can say whatever you want, you can ask it whatever you want. Might not always give you the response you want to get, but it's really that easy. And that's kind of how
And we'll go into
simple it is, a learning curve, right?
we'll go into some strategies when chat's not playing ball, because it does sometimes happen. This is what your chat window is going to look like. It is exactly that, a chat window. Every interaction that you have with ChatGPT, whether it's 3.5, whether it's 4, is saved in your client browser window. All we simply do is communicate with chat as we were communicating with another person on the other side of the chat screen. And I've just asked chat to wish us a little bit of a hello to our friends in the tourism sector, and this is what it's came up for us. Wishing a warm and welcoming season filled with exciting adventures, unforgettable experiences, and Nova Scotia's beauty is boundless, and your dedication to showcasing its wonders is truly commendable. So chat doesn't even know you folks yet, and it already thinks you're just great. But this is just to show you folks very, very quickly how to get signed in, and really what your basic utilization of ChatGPT is going to look like. This is the window. This is where all of the magic, for all intents and purposes, happens. Now I'm going to try and get back to the presentation here. So just bear with me for one moment.
Glad we put you in charge of this.
Hopefully I didn't explode it. Are we good? We're good. Yeah. All right.
Perfect.
Great. So let's talk about chat in action. Oh, I thought this was really funny. John found this this funny GIF of somebody asking chat to write a step-by-step engineering plan of how to write or how to design a bridge in AutoCAD that looks like a carrot. So the first thing that we want to talk about is arguably one of the toughest things that we have to deal with within our respective businesses, an unhappy customer. So we're going to get Chat's help in responding to this, but let's take a look at the situation here quickly. I ordered a waffle only to find a fingernail and a hair in my food. Good Lord. Absolutely shocking customer service, as I was told I'd have to wait 45 minutes for a fresh one, asked for a refund at the counter, but was ignored. I would not send my worst enemy here or to our restaurant. Oh no.
Yeah.
That's awful.
So, I mean, realistically, this is not something we want to ever see. And I feel like if you've ever dealt with this situation, you know that trying to respond to such a situation is probably going to take you longer just to think about what you need to say versus actually getting it done. And I think that's kind of where chat has helped us too, is some of this communication can really be customized to what we need to say to appease them or, rectify a situation based on how we would normally do that, right? And that's what's really cool, and we can start molding that and seeing it.
Yeah, that's right. And so there's a bit of a it's not a hard and fast rule, but there's a bit of a methodology that John and I have adopted with chat. And it really starts before we even prompt, before we ask chat to do anything at all. We know we have this nasty customer situation that we need to deal with. So when we're trying to design our prompt to get the response from chat, these are the sorts of things that we are thinking about. We're thinking about the task. What is it that we're going to get chat to do? In this case, it's respond to this email. What are the objectives? Well, in this particular case, it's probably going to be to provide some form of compensation and an apology. And then we ask ourselves, do I have a specific tone or a style that I need this communication to be treated with? In the case of social media, this is not going to help us so much with our customer, but in the case of social media, are there any hashtags? Are there any keywords that you are currently using or that you're currently following? Because if we ask chat to include them, it will. So the more specific that we can be in defining our tasks, our objective, our tone and style, the better or closer to the mark our output's going to be with chat. So let's break down how we wrote the prompt to respond to this situation. And this is, my friends, word for word what we had put into our chat window. So the first most basic part of prompting is giving chat the context or the tone in which it is going to be communicating in. In this particular example, we said, chat, you are a customer service representative known for your sincere and apologetic communication style. Now we're going to define its task, and this was all in one prompt. Your task is going to be to write an email to a customer who has had a poor experience at one of our restaurant locations, has emailed our support, and has also left a poor review for us online. The third part is we are going to instruct and inform chat about the details of what it is that we're asking it to do. So in this particular case, I'm going to provide you the details of the situation that requires the resolution. I literally copy and pasted the communication into my chat window. Now, the fourth part is really, really important when you're getting into more complex communications, but we still think it's very valuable even when we're doing basic communications. And that's checking chat for clarity. And we ask, chat, do you understand? If yes, are there specific details that you need from me to help you perform this task? Chat, in this particular case, understood what we were talking about. We gave it good enough background with the email that we had copied over. We wanted to give chat only the most basic information to work with for this particular example, just to give you folks an idea of how easily it can come up with a pretty reasonable response. And John's going to walk us through that right now.
Absolutely. I'm not going to read this whole thing because we have some other ones that we want to go through with the time we have. But you can read this here on the right-hand side. This is essentially the response that chat gave us. Okay. So you can see how it's actually just saying, hope this email finds you well. I was deeply saddened by and concerned to learn about the unfortunate experience. Right. So you can read through the rest of this to kind of highlight what communication style we were trying to aim for here and trying to resolve this. Right. Now, how can we customize this further so it's more specific for you? It's refined for your exact needs, right? Well, first, we might want to give the chat our business information. That way, when it creates the actual output, it might have the customer's name, your business information as well, right? We might be looking for different things within the parameters of how we want to compensate or communicate with this individual, right? Maybe we don't want to give them shares to our business, but maybe a free dinner because of the situation, right? So that's what's really cool is we're kind of giving you a fraction of what we can do with chat in terms of communication and getting output. But realistically, there's so much more that we can give it to really narrow it down for what we need refined for our own businesses, because we're all unique in terms of how we would approach these things. But this just shows you how quick it took a matter of, Colin, what, 10, 20 seconds for you to get that response, like put that information in, get the response, and now you have this email. So if you look at this email and would think, this might take me an hour to think of putting this thing together in a
would take me
format
an hour.
like this. Well, I have ADD, so I would procrastinate for 3 hours before taking an hour to write it, where chat took 20 seconds to create us something that might have some minor edits and adjustments, but again, maybe a couple minutes versus a couple hours potentially. That's kind of what we really wanted to highlight with this is we can use it for that specific types of purpose.
Yeah, that's right. And to add to that, you know, if there were any modifications that we did want to make to this email, I personally find it far too conciliatory. It's far too apologetic, in my opinion. And so we could go back and ask chat, like, you know what, chat, that was a great start. Maybe let's try that again with a little less apology, or maybe even a little more.
Yeah.
And we can, and this is the important takeaway here. It is up to us as the human user to curate the information that chat is providing, to curate the responses that chat is providing. And if chat isn't doing a great job, more often than not, if we go back and we look at our input, there is 9 times out of 10 is where we find the problem. We're either not being specific enough, or in some cases, a little bit more rare, we're being too specific. So let's move on a little bit from this. This response and prompting guide will be in the slide deck for you folks, as well as we will be including the prompt basic prompting breakdown in the guides that we have coming down the pipe for you. Okay, so let's move on to some basic social media tasks that Chat 3.5 can help us with. This is one of the things I personally use chat for quite often. I am not a social media genius in the way that that some folks are. I see what some of what you are doing in the tourism industry, some of the dishes that you're posting, some of the photos, some of the sunsets and things like that, and it makes it's inspiring to me because I feel like tourism lives and breathes with social media in a way that that many other industries just don't. It's a really great contact point for customers and for businesses alike. So let's run through some examples here. We're going to play a little bit of pretend. We're going to pretend that John and I run a small restaurant in the South Shore and that we're very reliant on both that local and that out of area and out of province traffic to kind of keep our lights on. So we're going to get chat's help planning our social media concepts for the upcoming week, and we're going to ask it to help us generate a post for our social media because frankly, we're not great at it, and we need help. So what I've done here is in very, very plain language. I'm just going to move this so I can actually read it. Sorry about that, folks. I've included my prompt for what we're going to do here with chat. And this is word for word what I dropped into chat to generate the following responses. Hi, chat. Can you help us plan out our next, that should be next week of Facebook and Instagram posts for my restaurant business located in the South Shore of Nova Scotia? I'm looking for some post concepts for this coming week. So very simple, very straightforward, 2 sentences, simple ask, and you'll notice not a ton of specific information. Let's move on and see with what the most basic of information I could provide it, what chat came up with. And I frankly was a little bit surprised. I didn't expect it to be quite so on the nose. But this was response 1 that I got back from chat. Happy to help us out. Chat's always so friendly. It's going to help us plan out the week of Facebook posts, and it has given me a list of awesome ideas. We've got Monday, dish of the week. We got Tuesday, a customer appreciation post. A Wednesday, behind the scenes. Thursday, throwback Thursday. Local supplier spotlight, and on and on and on. We could ask chat to do this for us for a month. We could ask it to do it for a quarter. We could ask it to do it for us for a year. And depending upon the input, I did actually after this ask it to do it for a month. And without any further prompting, it gave us variation from week to week. So no one week was being repeated in its same format. And I thought that was just fabulous. Yeah. This is one of the things that I talk about often when it comes to chat and when it comes to generative AI, because this is one of the things that I utilize myself and that I recommend and coach a lot of my clients to utilize as well, because frankly, social media is so important to the way that we do and to the way that we interact with our audiences and with our clients. But the reality is if you're just starting out, or maybe you're bootstrapping, maybe it's just been a tough year, those services can be very expensive for a small business. And so this kind of puts it back into our hands a little bit by saying, okay, well, we'll give you a hand in planning some of these things. And I'm telling you, folks, I use it for this specifically all the time. All the time.
And even if you don't utilize any of this, it might spark ideas, right? Whereas before you might be sitting there procrastinating, not being able to really come up with any concepts or things that you want to talk about or do. Again, even if you don't use it, it might inspire some things that you can then use and run with, right? That's also part of it as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So let's move it a step further. And I have done all of this just so you folks are aware. I have done all of this within the same chat window, the same session with ChatGPT. We've just simply built on by adding prompts after each response with chat. So let's get chat. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say we're just tapping into just the one day of that week to create something and see what it can do on the most basic level of prompts. And we can see here in this prompt, hi chat, can you help me write a post? Let's start with Monday, which we introduce the dish of the week, which is our lobster bisque, right? So we want to showcase the special dish, its ingredients, a little bit about its origin, its inspiration, and tying it to Nova Scotia.
I mean, it is pretty Scotian.
It's pretty Scotian.
Let's be serious.
East Coast, for sure.
Yeah, so, definitely.
Again, this is just a basic post based on that prompt, right? So the dish of the week, Nana's lobster bisque. Dive into the heart of Nova Scotia's culinary tradition with our featured dish this week, lobster bisque. Each bite is a taste of the Atlantic, bringing you freshness of the sea that will bowl your minds. Inspired by the ocean, our lobsters are caught right here in the cold, clean waters of Nova Scotia, known for producing some of the finest seafood in the world. This dish is a tribute to our local fishermen who brave the Atlantic, ensuring we get the freshest catch every day. A local favorite, lobster bisque isn't just a dish, it's part of our heritage. It embodies the warmth, simplicity, and elegance and spirit of Nova Scotia's cuisine. Come taste tradition. And again, could this be modified substantially to fit your specific style and needs? Absolutely. But you see how quick and easy that was to create something that you could look at and say, you know what, I probably wouldn't be able to come up with that on my own. So now you have something that you can modify, and we're going to show exactly what that looks like.
We absolutely are. So let's talk about the customization piece a little bit. Um, and what we did here was we just simply added in our chat session. You know what? Great start. Really like that. Turns out, and we made this up, but it turns out, chat, that there's an event going on called Privateer Days locally. Let's redo that last post, but can you make it as though we're like a pirate talking, like Jack Sparrow? This is what it came up with. I thought this was hilarious.
Yeah,
Now I'm not going to read.
yeah, we're not going to read this, but you can read it yourself.
I'm not going to read the whole thing, but I'm gonna do my best pirate on the first line of it. Ahoy there, me hearties! Commandeering your attention for a moment most crucial. Set your compass and spyglasses upon our grand dish of the week, the lobster bisque, a treasure most rare. So that's about the best I could do this morning without absolutely losing my mind.
You said you couldn't do a pirate voice, so I'm impressed.
But with one small modification, can you make this like that, essentially? We now have a completely new post. And, okay, maybe the pirate theme doesn't fit for you. Maybe it doesn't fit for your restaurant. Maybe it doesn't fit for your establishment. There are a load of other ways. If you're struggling to say, well, what is my tone? I don't really know what my brand voice sounds like. Find a character in your head, whether they be an actor, a cartoon character, a fictional character from a story, something that in your head resonates with you as being close to, if not exactly, your voice.
Yeah.
And chat will do a wonderful job of out of the gate making its communication or making its writing sound like that character that you've given it direction towards.
Absolutely.
So with just
and one
Jack
thing I
Sparrow,
just wanted to
oh, go ahead.
Yeah, we're gonna wrap this up really quickly here in a minute. But what I wanted to highlight is that we're talking about Cat 3.5 today, which is the free version. So anyone can obtain this today and get signed up and start doing this. What is really powerful is what comes after that. You know, Chat 4 is what a lot of us use now. This is a paid version of Chat, but it allows you the opportunity to do way more. So you can actually create things that help customize your brand voice. So anytime you do something, it's going to line up exactly with your brand, your tonality, all the specific things that you want to highlight when you're doing anything. It's going to be there. So this is what's really exciting coming up in the future with us. So we have a lot of things that we're going to talk about and dive into that take this into the next level. This is, again, chapter 1, chapter 2 of the whole series of books. So we're only just scratching the surface of what you can actually do with it.
And but John, that's a really great point. I mean, Chat 3.5 is arguably the most accessible AI tool available. Period. It's free. Anybody can use it. It has restrictions as far as messaging limits. Sometimes it will cap out on length if you're asking it to write something large, like a blog post or something like that. Sometimes 3.5 you'll come up against its wall if you're asking it to do the big things. But if you're asking it to give you a hand writing an email, give you a hand doing some social media planning, um, trying to do some blog writing or some post writing, Chat 3.5 is wonderful. It is an invaluable tool. But if you
Your own
are,
personal assistant, right? It's your own
yeah,
little
in a
personal
lot of
assistant.
ways. But if you do find that you are getting to the point with it where it's like, you know what, I really wish that it could just do this for me all the time, whether it's marketing or data analysis, customer feedback. Chat 4 might be the thing that you want to look at. One of the things, just to sort of iterate that point, that I use Chat 4 for regularly is data analysis. So when I'm running campaigns for clients and things like that, I can, with Chat 4, upload my spreadsheet to Chat 4 and say, which is incredible, and say, okay, Chat, help me sort through this data. And it does a fabulous job. But that being said, if you are looking for, oh man, like spreadsheets aren't really my strong suit. I'm not really great at them, but I really need help putting together, a pricing matrix or any form of data that would require a spreadsheet. Even 3.5 can help you format that sheet and give you the correct formulas if you're trying to do things like cost analysis, standard deviation, and things like that. Chat can be very, very helpful for those tasks. My point is, if you're wondering, ask Chat. Can you do this? If so, what do you need from me to do it?
And one last thing before we head off here into the last parts here, Colin. I just want to highlight one thing about the power of AI as well, because again, when I talked about we're only touching upon chapter 1, chapter 2 of what you can do, all these images that we're showing here, lobster bisque, the pirates, all of that aren't real images. None of them are real. We created that all utilizing AI based on other prompts that we provided to other AI tools. But Chat 4 also has its own ability using DALL-E to create images too, by giving it essentially prompts related to it. But there's other ones that provide even more realistic images that you can utilize for, again, social media posts, presenting our lobster bisque. It's not real, right?
Yeah, there's a lot of things that the photo side of things is getting really, really wild with AI. I'm going to talk a little bit about some of them here on the next slide. But yeah, very, very interesting stuff. So we'll definitely get to that. Wanted to let you folks know there's a couple of guides that we have coming for you sometime soon, and would absolutely love to have your feedback on them when they are up and out. So we do have a cheat sheet that's going to be going through like a lot of the back end of what we had kind of showcased today, in getting you folks using 3.5 and giving you some strategies for its more everyday functions and for its more commonly used functions. We're also developing a guide for those of you who are going to be using ChatGPT for a lot of marketing, for things like social media and things like that. We're building a guide to show you folks how to harness ChatGPT and get it using your brand voice in communication. So it sounds like your company, it sounds like whether it's your communications person or your marketing person, or maybe you are those persons, we can have Chat sound just like you with some tweaking, with some doing. So we have those guides coming down the pipeline. But as well, if you folks have any questions, if there is anything that we haven't covered today or anything that you need a hand with, or maybe you just need some direction, Digiport has been wonderful in connecting us with their consultation and one-on-one service. So you folks can feel free to book John and I at any point through that service. We are happy to spend an hour with you and walk you through whatever it is you have in front of you that's AI related. We'd love, love, love to help. Anything else before I move on, John?
No, that's everything. We have a lot, like I said, 2024, we have a lot of things coming that will go beyond everything we talked about today. So like I said, stay tuned, check out the resources we have in Digiport, and yeah, it's a lot of great stuff.
Can you guys hear me okay?
You sure can, Nick.
Okay, great. I just so my internet for some reason is a bit spotty. I just want to make sure that we covered all the Did you guys some of the Q&As that came through?
We're just getting to them now.
Oh, okay. You guys. So
this is the last one.
This is the last slide, Nick.
No rush. No rush. I just want to make sure we get those questions in.
Absolutely, absolutely. I saw a couple of good ones in the chat here too, and I want to make sure that we address them. Okay, so very quickly before we wrap up and move into the Q&A, we do want to make you folks aware that ChatGPT, Chat 3.5, is not the only AI tool that is out there, and it's not the only AI tool that businesses are using. You've heard John and I talk a lot about Chat 4. Chat 4 is, we like to refer to Chat 4 as being the bigger brother of Chat 3.5. It's more robust and it can do more complex tasks. DALL-E, John, you want to talk about DALL-E and Barden?
Yeah, of course. So DALL-E basically allows you to create images in Chat. So it's connected with Chat directly with Chat 4, right? So you ask it, just like we did prompts, to get social media posts, you would do the same thing to try to get images based on the specifics that you need. The same thing with Midjourney. Like I mentioned, the images that we used were all from Midjourney. So when we're talking about pirates at a fine dining restaurant, we created that. That was a prompt, right? The kid shocked to see a toenail in his waffle. All of that's created with Midjourney and AI. Bard is Google's AI platform. So again, you can ask it questions, it can do research, it can do all sorts of things. Claude, again, is another one. They're all very similar. I use Claude personally for a lot of writing because I find it does a better job at sounding more human than maybe chat does at times. So I use that a lot for my own blogs, blog creation. And then Colin, I think you use Firefly and other tools like that for more advanced stuff.
I use, well, I mean, in my business, I use Photoshop and After Effects and all the Adobe suite often. For those of you who are out there who either have a copy of Photoshop or maybe we're thinking about getting one, Adobe has just added a generative AI prompt function to Photoshop. This is, and for me, this is very mind-blowing because we'll just say, for example, you take a photo and it's a lovely photo of, you know, your daughter and her fiance. And there is a dog in the background or another person in the background making a funny face, or you want them removed. Now in Adobe Photoshop, you can say, hey, select that person with the tool, remove, and it will, boom, remove, cover over the background, and it will do it in seconds. It's incredible. The offshoot to this is Adobe Firefly. Adobe Firefly is much like Midjourney or DALL-E. You send it a prompt and say, hey, give me a picture of a pretty waterfall in the forest. And then Adobe Firefly will generate a photo of a pretty waterfall in the forest. Adobe Podcast. This thing is so exciting. For those of you who are out there who do a lot of social media updates and you are using predominantly your cell phones to capture those videos, or perhaps you have just started a podcast, but you don't really know a whole heck of a lot about audio processing and audio editing. Adobe Podcast is a free service, 100% free, that allows you to upload pieces of video and audio. Actually, I believe the video piece might be premium only, but audio, and it will clean it and tidy it up, remove wind noise, remove nasty sounds, and just make you sound your best by controlling one slider. So if you don't know anything about audio editing, but you want to get out there in the podcast space, or maybe you're already out there and you're finding that it's taking you so much time to get your podcast or your video sounding great, Adobe Podcast, literally, go to Google, Adobe Podcast. It's right there. Enhance speech is the function of that tool, and it does wonderful, beautiful things to video and audio that many professionals probably couldn't even reach the level of. I'm telling you, it is insanely good. Before I'm not going to gush too much more about any of that. Did you want to add anything, John, before we move to the Q&A?
No, I think we covered it.
Great. Ta-da! Thank you so much, folks. We made it the whole way to the end. Let's start going through some of the questions that we have here.
Yeah, that's great, guys. So awesome job, so much relevant and great information. We'll probably get you guys back again because I feel like there's just again just scratching the surface. Did you guys, again, choppy internet, you guys feel that you answered any of these questions yet, or do you want me to go through these?
Let's go through them. I'm not sure that there's any. I'm just scrolling back through them now, Nick. I'm not sure if there's any. There is one that I can answer here very quickly. If you move to chat 3.5 to 4, will your history be remembered in the upgraded version? I can speak from experience. Yes.
Yeah, that's not great. But you can toggle or go back between the two, can you not?
Oh yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Yes, you don't lose it. You just, yeah, okay.
No. And you can actually copy and paste it and convert it into Chat 4.
Okay. Now, another question was, can we export this to Excel or a scheduling app for socials?
Can
I would say that what you would do is pretty much copy and paste it into scheduling programs. That's what we do
Okay.
typically from our side as agencies. Like we have scheduling programs. I use Publer, for example, for social media with all the channels that we have. So we literally copy and paste it. And if you're creating images, again, you would download them from chat and then upload them to where literally how you would upload an image anywhere else, right?
mhm.
Okay.
Yeah.
and
One of
and
the,
I will
yeah,
say with Chat 4, Chat 4 does have a function that when it produces its response, you can have it produce it in a CSV or an Excel friendly table. I don't know if 3.5 will do that.
Yeah. Again, these are some of the things we look at with 4, and that's why we really highlight why it's such a fantastic upgrade and tool. And it's only $20 a month to use Chat 4. But like I said, when you see the difference in what you're actually able to accomplish now and how much more Chat 4 gets in terms of updates and upgrades and integrations, it's amazing. And I highly recommend taking a look at it if you're really serious about using this, right?
Yeah.
There was a good question about the legality of
Mm.
AI. So let's talk about this because it's such a gray area when we're talking about what's right, what's wrong, and everything in between. So you have to be a little bit cautious when for a few facts. So let's talk about content that we're generating. If maybe you're creating blog posts, anything like that. If you're going to be creating something, make sure you have a look to make sure it's all valid information. Like if we're talking in the finance or health niche and you're providing information to people and it's not accurate, I mean, that could cause issues right there. When it comes to images and things that we're using, again, it's a gray area, right? Because copyrightability or what it protects is pretty much human generated content, right? There really isn't much as it comes to non-human creators. So you have to be careful. Now, if you're going to be creating pictures of celebrities and other people, you might be running the risk of getting in trouble with certain individuals, right? But if you're creating random pictures of pirates at a fine dining establishment that doesn't exist, it's a little bit different, right? So you have to walk out exactly what you're doing. If what we did today is what we're doing, you're not going to be running into any issues. But again, if you're having a fan page for Taylor Swift and you're going crazy with that, maybe you're going to run into some complications. Or if you're trying to give legal advice and the information you're providing that chat gave you might not necessarily be accurate, that can get you in trouble too. So you have to kind of balance what it is that you're going to be doing. And some things might be a little bit more on that side of like, could get you in trouble. Whereas a lot of this stuff, especially with tourism businesses, this shouldn't really have any kind of ramifications.
No, and no, it certainly won't. As John has mentioned, when we start reproducing the likeness of another person, another company, another brand, stay away from that. Because although there is no legislation in place right now, that means that you're going to land in any sort of legal hot water. Ethically, you shouldn't be doing it. But the reality is that this landscape is changing. We don't have policy, or at least not a lot of policy, that governs these things on a provincial or a federal level as of yet. So it's up to us as the users in this sort of Wild West period of the technology to move forward ethically, to move forward compassionately, and to move forward in a way that we all kind of agree on is sustainable. The reality is one of the things that we talk about a lot, obviously, is the job replacement displacement piece. But from the legal perspective, there are going to be changes with AI coming. It's a guarantee. What they are going to be, that's really tough to say. But I will promise you this: things like script writing, art, whether it be still photo art or video art, visual art, and things like research. These are going to be the things that government bodies are going to be administering first.
Yeah. And we're really trying to have those communications too, because, there's so much gray area with this. It would really help to kind of create those lines now so people have time to adjust and react to it in a way that, again, is going to be beneficial to everyone. That's our main goal. That's why we're doing this too. Again, there's a lot of fear of AI taking jobs and doing all that, and you'll hear lots of reports. But I think if we focus on how we use this as a productive tool, how do we look at upskilling ourselves in our business, our employees in our business, we're looking at the good side. And that's what we really want to enforce is, there's so much good to come from this. And like I said, we're going to have to figure out as we go what that looks like in terms of the line that we need to stay on to make sure we're not doing anything that gets out of hand. So it's still very gray, right? But for the most part, as a tourism business, just simply doing what we kind of did today, this is all stuff that fits within, the safe parameters of it all. But like Colin and I mentioned, there's things that probably would get you more in trouble, but that would happen even if you weren't using AI, right? You provide fake information or false information, that's going to get you in trouble. You're going to recreate someone's actual images or likeness, that can get you in trouble. So you have to be careful of what you're doing and filling that in. The subscribe again to Chat 4. So one thing I want to mention is, say if you're using Chat 3.5 now and you're trying to get to 4, there is a wait time. So you can't automatically just get 4. From my own experience in the last little bit, it's about maybe a week or 2 before they start approving you once you do try to upgrade.
Yeah.
So just keep that in mind. The quicker you do it, probably for the best, because we just don't know how long it will take. There's so many people that are trying to get 4 that they've just been kind of gatekeeping it a bit to, make sure they're not just going crazy and having a lot of problems with their own applications of this, right? So yeah, I definitely recommend it. I can't stress this enough. If you thought this was a good webinar today and the things that we showed you were good, Chat 4 will blow your mind.
Yeah, it's crazy. And as John said, yeah, it's approximately a week right now on the turnaround for their waitlist, which is greatly improved, because had you asked us this question last month, it was a month, almost 2, that some people had been waiting for their accounts. The only other thing that I kind of wanted to add to the whole legal piece, because this is something that had come up earlier, was personal information. And folks, you'll notice if we go back through our email examples and things like that we did with chat today, I did not include any personal information of the client. I did not include the client's name. I did not include their address or any of that. The reality is, I do this intentionally. I don't add names and telephone numbers and addresses and things like that to the service. It's not a question of that it's ever gotten out in another chat or that information's been utilized in some sort of nefarious way. Nothing like that. It's not even based upon my own paranoia. It's about the knowledge and understanding that I am using a third-party service to process information and data. And if I don't have your permission to do that with your information and data, then I probably shouldn't do it.
Right? Like, well, we definitely don't recommend putting clients, credit card and billing address or any HIPAA related health type of information in place. Definitely not ideal for this usage. So like I said, gray areas, these are things we probably don't want to use chat for, right? So again, you just have to be a little cognizant of that and how you approach using it, right?
Yeah, be careful. And if you have any questions, reach out. Happy to have a conversation with any of you around any of that at any point, and come up to a solution together.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's excellent. I think a good natural stopping point. I do think we could continue on for a long period because it's just so in depth and such a great topic. So anyone on the call, I would encourage you to sign up for a one-on-one with Trailblaze. Like it's free to you. They are paid, so everyone wins. And I just encourage you to do that. I believe they're going to be also potential partners, digital service providers to the TDAP program, I believe, or will be added. So that's another opportunity. So AI is not going anywhere. It's only going to be more integrated into our tasks and our work lives. So let's make sure we can master that. Just so many positive feedbacks coming back from everybody. So I thought it was an excellent session, a lot of value in it, and I really hope that we see you back here again. So I'll just take back over the screen if that's all right, gentlemen.
Mhm.
And anyone has any questions, we'll be sharing the contact info for Trailblaze. So thank you again, John and Colin, and we hope to see you back soon.
Definitely.
Thank you, Nick. That was it's always a lot of fun. It's always a lot of fun being
Definitely.
able to do this stuff with you folks.
Perfect. Okay, so give me 1 sec here. So I hope everybody enjoyed that session today. Value of ChatGPT is so strong in your business. So and following on that trend, we have another webinar coming up on Thursday, March 14th at 10 a.m. Do understand that it's during March break, but unfortunately, that's the only time we could have this presenter come in. We have Melissa Lloyd from Agility Hub. So check it out, and if you can't make it, it will be, of course, recorded and posted on our website in Digiport. Stay connected. If you have any ideas for any webinars or have any questions, tnsbusiness@novascotia.ca. Our corporate website's tourismns.ca. Our consumer-facing website's novascotia.com. We have our news and resources, tourismns.ca/news-resources, where we would share any relevant programs and information. Our corporate Twitter is Tourism NS or corporate X account, and our corporate LinkedIn is Tourism Nova Scotia. Thank you so much for joining us, and I hope you have a great day.